Welcome to Soul Unscripted, the space where spirituality meets strategy and soul-led entrepreneurs come to remember who they are, why they're here, and what they're truly capable of creating. I'm your host, Lindsay Grace, a soul purpose mentor, intuitive business coach, and Akashic guide. And I'm here to help you bridge the energetic and the practical so you can build a business that feels as good as it looks. So each episode, we dive into the real, raw, and unscripted side of entrepreneurship, the initiations, the breakthroughs, the magic, and the mess, all through the lens of alignment, purpose, and truth. Because when you lead from soul, you don't just build a business, you become the embodiment of your purpose. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's get into today's episode. I am so excited to welcome Priscilla Bernstein. She is the soul alignment specialist. And so I'm going to pass it over to you and let you share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and let's get this beautiful conversation going.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lindsay, for having me. And yes, my name is Priscilla Bernstein. I'm the soul alignment specialist. And in that, I cover all things soul related. So, intuitive healing, business coaching, soul alignment, embodiment practices, working with the divine feminine and divine masculine collectives, doing Akashic record readings, doing things like removing entities and dark energies from people, places, and things, and I'm really in alignment with your opener around, not only living your authentic truth, but creating a business and being on purpose in your life, right? With your soul desires, with what it is that your soul is calling you to do and what it is that it's asking for on a regular basis, and allowing yourself to be your most authentic, true, and sovereign self. And so that's really what I'm helping mostly, you know, women in our culture do, but I do work with both women and men, and the gamut is so full around what I do. So it's if you follow me on anything, Instagram or TikTok or Threads, it's there's just certain amounts of things that I can say that I do in the bios. So ultimately, I kind of do it all when it comes to soul alignment, and I'm just so happy to be here and so happy to talk to you and ride this wave of soul alignment, what it means to be in a soul aligned business and to be soul led, and, to help people understand not only their purpose, but I really like to say that pleasure is the path, and allowing yourself to really listen to the things that your soul is calling you to do, the things that bring you pleasure, that light you up, that bring you joy. And when you follow that, it's like you can never really go wrong.
You can't for sure. I love how you said about, all the things and it's so hard when we are spiritual or soul-led entrepreneurs. Um it's really we're so multifaceted. Like we don't just kind of do one thing. We've got all of these beautiful gifts that we bring in to help support the collective. So, yeah, we can't fit it into a bio at all. I know we had touched on before I hit record, like so many of the little things that you do. And like you said, even interior design. And so bringing, into intuition and everything into that. And also like even jewelry making you touched
Yes.
on just briefly
Yeah.
as well too, which is so amazing. As I said, like really we are whole beings, and our gifts just bring so many layers to not only who we are but also what we do, and I think that that truly helps us also be able to help other people.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. In 2018, I was given the title Soul Alignment Specialist. I never dubbed myself that. And when Spirit gave me that title and that role, it was October of 2018, right around this time, actually. I was at um like a weekend retreat that I was co-hosting, and I took everybody through a guided meditation around finding your soul purpose. And in that, while everybody was doing it, I kind of dropped in and did it myself. And I got the same vision I had gotten 4 years prior, which was me standing on a mountaintop holding this like light. And 4 years prior, I said, "No, no, thank you. I don't want it, like, too much responsibility." And I just held it at an arm's distance for 4 years, and so when I was doing that meditation with everybody and I dropped in, I finally said, "Okay, I'll do it. It's the exact same thing that I saw 4 years ago, so yes." And the second I said yes, it was like I became the light, and I wasn't just standing on top of a mountaintop, there was, like, millions of people below me. And so it just felt like I knew that I had a big mission, I knew that I was here to do something great to help uplift humanity in some way, shape, or form. And so what's funny is people will ask me like, "Well, what led you here? Like, how did you get to be doing what you're doing?" And I'm like, "Well, ultimately, it's like my whole life led me here. Every decision I made led me here. Like in school growing up, I like one of my core values is creativity. And so I've been creative and artistic from the moment I was like conceived and brought into this life, you know. I've always kind of gravitated towards the arts and creativity. And so my parents put me in like ceramics classes when I was in art coming up in school. I was the first like fourth grader to be allowed in art club. You know, it was only allowed for fifth graders and up because the teacher saw my abilities. You know, like there was just so much here that kind of led me down this path. And you know, I went to college, and before I went to college I went to massage therapy school, and that's kind of where I understood where I was very sensitive to people's energy and I wanted to do something that helped them without like touching them for an hour, because they don't teach you how to ground your energy in massage therapy school. It's very much like, you know, medical, anatomy, physiology, and business. And like that's it, you know? And so the woo woo side of it. And I don't even really love that term, but it's like energetics is a real thing. And you have to teach people how to like ground that energy. So I didn't learn that until I got into teaching yoga. And I've been teaching yoga for over 20 years. And then yoga and school led me to, you know, deciding that I really wanted to go into making jewelry. And so I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in jewelry making and ceramics. And that led to me starting a production line of jewelry that is meant to help you heal as you wear it. I don't have the production line anymore. Now I just do channeled pieces. So if you were to buy something from me, you would purchase a channeled piece of jewelry. You get to choose your metal and like what you want, like an earring or a ring or a necklace. And then I channel exactly what that is, what gemstones you need, and you get a surprise ultimately in what it is that you're getting. It's just like the image comes through for me. Everything's very intuitive. Um, and then from there, I moved to California and had launched this business. And that's where the interior design kind of like blossomed and came in. And I've always loved decorating and stuff, but I found very quickly, I worked at a furniture store and I found very quickly that I could take what people were telling me that they needed, but then I was still getting like intuitive hits from their soul and could see these other things happening, and then would come to them, you know, with their, you know, designs, and they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't even really realize that I like wanted that, but I guess I did want that," you know? And so it was something that, you know, it's like you either have it or you don't. And I think you can teach a lot of this stuff, but at the same time, everything I've done has been something intuitive, and every decision I've made, luckily my parents were so willing to be like, "Oh, what do you wanna do? Do you wanna do ballet?" I'm like, "No." "Do you wanna do gymnastics?" "Yes." You know, like, they just let me do whatever I wanted to do. "Oh, it seems like you're really interested in art, like, let's feed that," you know? And so they've really been a great support. Well, my dad passed away in 2019, but it was when I was in Mexico, right before my dad passed, actually, that I did start working with people around the world doing like energy clearings remotely, and, you know, just really stepping into um my abilities in a way that I hadn't before, one on one with people in person. And so that was something too that really, you know, it's like your whole journey kind of builds you up and leads you. So when you're really trusting yourself, when you're trusting those intuitive hits, and when you're allowing yourself to be soul led, it's like one thing will lead to the other, and when you look back you're like, "Oh, actually all those dots had to connect to get me here." And so all the things that I do now is the all encompassing, thing that when I was in California, I had started this it was a company called Practical Magic Goods. And in that I was creating like witchy goods and, things for the home and, like dream weavers and stuff like that. And so it was something like energy clearing kits and things like that. And so now I've started a coven and, like I have all these things that I'm doing that I'm juggling with courses and masterminds and, like teaching the collective and sharing and writing, but it's like I'm just a multifaceted being and it's funny when people try to put you in a box or try to figure you out. You're like, good luck, because I haven't figured it out yet.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So the thing that as you're talking, I'm like, you kept about how you were led. And I think there's so much beauty in listening to you share this journey because, I mean, so often the practical side of us, our egoic mind is like, no, I should really just stick with what I'm doing. But you've just given people permission to follow all of those little nudges. Like follow. There's a reason for all of it, right? But we're so often, especially people who are maybe early on in their journey, they think that they need to stick with what they've been doing and that middle ground of knowing that they're being called for more but really being unsure about what it means to again to follow those leads, right? We're beautifully guided when we open ourselves up to the support that exists out there and we're in this beautiful co-creating space. We do have this path that if we choose to follow it, becomes such a beautiful story like yours is. So I really love how you shared all that. And as I said, I really hope that it inspires other people if they're kind of feeling like if they keep getting the nudge and they're not sure that you inspire them to maybe try it, follow it, see what happens.
Bro, I think too, like when you said like out there, it's really like that spiritual support, right? Like it's something that you can't see, it's not tangible, but it's like it's coming to you. It's your those intuitive nudges. It's, the universe bringing you these like breadcrumbs. And, when you follow those things, like I remember when I was gonna move to California, it's like I didn't know that I was gonna move to California, but I knew that I was moving soon. I just knew it.
Yeah.
And then it was like the universe started to give me these little hints, and it was like I would see California everywhere. Right. And so it's like when you pay attention to those things that are like, hey, 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 this it's like, oh, okay, this is something. And if I follow this and I keep taking those, like, oh, okay, spirit, give me more, give me more, give me more. And then I think the more that you even talk with your guides and angels, your spirit team, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, right? It's all mixed together, it's all interconnected. But it's
Yeah.
like the moment you start asking for more, you will get more. And you have to trust that. And the more that you trust that, the more you are given, right? It's like a muscle. Your intuition is a muscle that you're strengthening. But I will preach that. I will preach that all day long to follow your intuition, follow your heart, follow that internal guidance, because I'm a true believer that, where we've been for millennia has been logic led, has been in that kind of like, broken kind of patriarchy or toxic masculinity of like things have to be linear, a plus b equals c, where, when we go back to the kind of divine feminine, divine masculine legs of Christ consciousness, we've been in the like masculine side too much. And I really think that, and I'm not trying to get religious here at all, but this is where a lot of my work goes, is the misconception of the teachings that Jesus brought to us. And I'm a huge believer that Jesus left home and went and studied under Buddha in India, and learned these beautiful kind of yogic teachings which teach you that, like, God is within you and you have access to that. And when you're tapped in, tuned in, and turned on, and you've learned how to not only have a Kundalini awakening and activate more parts of your brain, but that you can literally create anything. And if you've never read Autobiography of a Yogi, an amazing book that will help like completely shatter your perception of, it's so paradigm shifting of like what is possible in human form that you can do. And so even though my journey started kind of in yoga, it started way before that, because I remember coming up in a private school and having to go to church every morning and being so beautifully drawn into the religious iconography of the church, the rituals that were happening, the teachings, like I loved the stained glass. I loved everything about being in church. And I would listen to these sermons and I was like, I could tell my soul was like hungry for something. Like I was just a voracious student, from a very young age. But it was like there was always something missing.
Yeah.
There was like always this void of like, but what else? Like this doesn't seem true. Like there was just like a nagging kind of void, right? And it wasn't until went to my first yoga teacher training and I started learning about like the 8 limbs of yoga and like the Upanishads and, going deeper into the text, the yogic text. And when I was there and listening to this and reading it, like the resounding resonance of truth in my soul that I felt, and I was like, this is it, this is it. And it's too difficult to be like, blah, like here it all is right here, like let me lay it out for you, right? But ultimately what we're coming to in this day and age is the divine feminine awakening and taking her rightful place on the throne, because I think Mary Magdalene got a really bad rap via
Yeah.
the men, right? And after Jesus was executed and resurrected, the gospel got passed down through different apostles, right? And I feel like Paul is probably the closest apostle that was sharing the closest thing to what Jesus was sharing. But I also think that Mary Magdalene had her own text, the Gnostic gospel, that she was, sharing stuff that Jesus didn't share with the other apostles. He was giving, and I think she, ultimately was this like, she was a diviner in her own right. She was a very powerful healer in her own right. She had a mystery school. Like she was tapped and tuned in and turned on, and they were divine counterparts,
Yeah.
He was the divine masculine and she was the divine feminine. And so she was run out, and still some of her texts are missing, but I do believe that what she was teaching was more of the, our power is within, and the more that you're looking outside of yourself, you're never going to find it, right? And so when we even look at the Bible and like Constantine creating the Bible as it is now, it's like so much was omitted around not only the divine feminine's part in all of this, but this is what's coming to light now, right? And I think they were really trying to leverage the power that they had over the people, and they wanted to, they didn't want that to be public knowledge that everybody has this power within them, but they do. And I think really this day and age that we're getting to, even though there's so much chaos happening in the world, that it's like this divine feminine is coming back into her sovereignty, into her throne. And if you look at it from any point of view, with being a spiritual coach and leader, with the divine feminines in your life, it's like you can see them stepping into their power. You can see them reclaiming their sovereignty. You can see them like hungry for more and saying, like, enough is enough. Like, it's my turn now, right? And so the more that we're choosing ourselves, the more that we're, and there's these like waves of mass awakenings that are happening on the planet, I think everybody's kind of waking up to that. And then the divine masculine is having their divine feminine wake up within them, and them coming into their intuitive abilities, them coming into, more of their creativity, more of this kind of flow state that we were talking about, as opposed to being in that kind of linear you have to do it this way. And I think we're just seeing that on a grander scale.
Yeah. There's so much permission just in that to just be who we are. I love how the topic went this way, and this is what I love about this because it just guides where it needs. And so I grew up, I went to like Catholic school, and so here I'm in Canada, and here we have for school there's basically the public or Catholic, which is funny
Mhm.
because basically it's a religious school or a non-religious school. They're both technically public type schools available to, can't say everybody because you do have to be baptized Catholic to go to the Catholic school. But
Mhm.
anyways, I went to a Catholic school. We were not religious though. I was baptized and everything like that as a baby, not just to be able to go to the school, but we didn't go to church. We didn't really do anything like that. So I had exposure to obviously religion and mainly the Catholic religion through all of those years, being young. And but that was kind of it. And then went on through life and everything. And when I went through I will say my darkest, my deepest, my huge awakening, I've had a lot of them along the time, but the one that really stripped me back, it was my Kundalini awakening. It was my like dark night of the soul, like everything condensed into a very, very short period of time. And when I went through that and was,
29.
pardon me?
Was it when you were 29 by chance?
No, actually, it was in my early 40s. It was after I
Okay.
had gone through a horrendous divorce and left a toxic marriage and was like, who am I? And everything like that. So, no, 29, 29 life definitely had because yes, I know there's those big,
Saturn return. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I was very much what is going on here, which happens to a lot of people who, especially when you have like it's not a gentle
Mhm.
awakening. And I remember kind of searching online, trying to find answers, and I came across some people who it was very much that like spirituality, the version that I was feeling I was experiencing was not the same as the religion spirituality. And so I was in this very much this space of I had to differentiate between the two, like what I was in and where I was going and who I was becoming, especially as I stepped into the my healing path and then ultimately the work that I was doing, that it had to be separate. But in the last year or two, it's really beautifully come back together. And I often refer and I say God, source, universe, whatever somebody relates to, it's all, to me, it's all the same thing. But again, that's my belief. That doesn't mean that it's everybody's, but that this religious component, that like religion and that version of spirituality and God and Jesus and all of Christ consciousness, like all of that, it's all in one and the same. And so, and maybe I had to experience the part where it was separate just to be able to truly come back to this. And now there's so much of me that wishes that that young version of me that was exposed to that, and even, now where, I had experienced more of that version of spirituality. But again, my path is what it is. But I just love that you went that way because for myself right now, I'm really dismantling a lot of religion and that still being such a key part. Like that it doesn't have to be set because again, as I said, like it was so many of the teachings that I came across was it was one or the other. Like they couldn't coexist. So
Well, I
I'm
think
just
that's the beauty of
I'm gonna give you just a flag so then also I'll know if I need to edit.
okay.
I saw my car pull into the driveway. I'm right at the front of my house. So there's about to be people that will come in. So it'll be noisy for a moment. So I'm thinking like if we just let them and then
Okay.
we can continue. I'm like, although why are they not getting out? I know that they've got to be because my daughter has to go to work.
Okay.
But seriously. I figured it was gonna be like when they came back the last time. Doors slam and in the house right away, but
They're being quiet.
they're probably finishing a song. They're
Oh,
probably, when there's a good song on, you have to let it finish before you can turn the car off.
obviously, yeah.
Why did I pause this? So annoying. Okay, maybe continue and then
Okay. Well, I think it's beautiful what you brought up there, because I do think that not only are a lot of people dismantling the kind of rhetoric and dogma that they were raised within when it comes to religion, but I think just as a collective whole, we are dismantling the patriarchy, we're dismantling the matrix, we're dismantling the foundations that we've been living within for the last, millennia, the last 2 millennia, of how power is held, how um societal structures are held, how, you know, different parts of not only our society but just everything in general, like our financial systems, how we do commerce, like how we engage with each other, I mean, so much has changed over the years. Like, obviously we're in an age of electronics, being able to communicate with each other in this way, shape, and form, online, where, coming up and as like kind of Gen Z, like we didn't have this, like it was just coming out, right? Like we got to be analog, and then to be in this kind of like state of the art type of energy now. But at the same time, to see the thing that's really truly playing out on the collective scale is the dismantling of everything we've ever known, and restructuring, rebuilding, coming back to grassroots, coming back to ourselves, coming back to the truth within. And it's funny because I studied world religion in college and I loved it. I'm again like the ritual of it, the teachings, like it fascinates me. And so when I was studying this and even going through and doing yoga and whatnot, it was interesting to see this thread that runs through all of them. But it's like each religion took that thread and then like built something around it that worked for those people at that time in history. And for the religion to have never expanded or changed after all of these, you know, hundreds of years, it's like, come on. And Christianity, in and of itself, is like there's so many different forms of it. It's like, who's to say which one is right, So I do believe that it's not all the same, because I do believe that religion, no matter how you kind of stamp it, creates a box around something and like limits you, and really kind of creates a division, if you will, when with the box. Where spirituality, I think it was necessary for you to have that separation from it, to dismantle it, and to fully steep yourself in spirituality, to realize like, oh, this is the all encompassing, all interconnectedness, all the isness of God, source, universe, right? All kind of weaving in and out of each other. And it's like your truth and my truth might be very, very similar, but we're going to have these like tinges or threads that are very different from one another, because we both had not only different life experiences in this lifetime, but as a soul, we've had different experiences in our soul's lifetime to evolve in whichever way, shape, and form we've needed to, right? So it's like you're not supposed to take what one person regurgitates back to you as like complete truth. It's like question everything. But like when you feel something land as truth in your soul, it's like that's undeniable. That is undeniable. Your whole body lights up and you're just like, oh my God, yes, like that's it. And so it's like, go on those things, feed yourself those things. And that's what I love about religion, or I mean about spirituality, is it's like, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Like if that doesn't work for you, then leave it, like let it go. It's like salt over the shoulder, like keep going, like it really gets to be what works for you, and then you get to expand within that. And then if you want to go down a rabbit hole into something, whether it's like the occult arts or the esoteric or metaphysics, and want to dive into neuroplasticity or this or that, like manifestation. It's like it runs the gamut. And I'm like all lit up with goosebumps because it's just like, it's the everything that isness that you're tapping into, and you're saying, I want more of this. Okay, I want more of this. I want more of this. I want more of this. And like, I want to expand my knowledge here. And then, again, when you're allowing yourself to be soul led or to follow the pleasure as the path, and you're like, oh, I'm so lit up by this. Like, let's dive in here. And I want to learn more of this, this, and this. And it's like you can swing the pendulum and go way down there, right? But it's like at a certain point, because the soul needs to evolve, it'll be like, hey, well, I also need this, this, and this. And so your pendulum will swing the other way. And you may come back into the kind of religious spectrum again and be like, okay. Yes, I get it all now. And I'm seeing this from such a broad kind of like bird's eye view lens now, as opposed to the like strict, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like blinder lens that religion puts on it, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. Complete sense. So, one of the things that I often try to guide people of, and I know that I've had to remind myself of so many times, is that there are going to be people that resonate with you. Their message will align with you. And it doesn't mean that it will forever, And so you will come into people, whether they're guides or teachers or whatever there is out there, because I mean, we are in the age of information and there is a lot of it at our fingertips. Like we can just snap our fingers and get answers to whatever we want. Now, those answers aren't always necessarily the best for us or whatever. And so that discernment, and this was a really big thing that I had to go through, realizing that just because they seemed like they were some type of expert or guru didn't mean that their message was necessarily aligned to me. And that's the thing that I love about alignment, right? Is really truly understanding that alignment is different for each of us. Our path is different. And so those messages that we're going to receive from the world, they may or may not be actually for us. And maybe they are for us at a period, for a part, for a blip, and then they're not again. And I've learned that sometimes some, and then they come back, right? It's, you kind of expand out of it, because everything really, again, with this alignment, as we shift and change, we may continue to align or not align with that person or with that message or whatever. So there's so much about being open and being in the space of, is this for me? And if it's not, that's totally okay, because it will be for other people. And if it is, and then all of a sudden it's not, and just again, you really when you're so truly tapped in and you're living in alignment yourself, and you really truly understand who you are and your energy, it makes it so much easier to be discerning, to say, okay, that's okay. I see this and I can look at it. I use that as well too. I've realized that now I'm to the point, and even when big situations are happening in the world around us, because yeah, the world is it's worlding, it's chaotic, and there's a lot of stuff. But I can
It's
quite
nuts.
often look at things from that elevated, pulled out perspective, instead of just, it's like it's this way only.
Mhm.
And this whole picking sides, and that it's, you have to be this label or that label, or that it's this way, or like, it's just, it's not the way it's meant to be, truly,
No.
know.
And I really do think like, I think as spiritual leaders, um, I'll dub ourselves that, right? Because we've been on this wave for over 20 years, right? Um, it really, or guides, spiritual guides, light workers, light shower, way showers, whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, there's this energy, like deciphering is so important, and understanding what is true for you. And the way that you understand what is true for you is first and foremost by like cutting out the noise. Like I remember when I started this path, I had to stop watching news. I was like, I cannot have like you're feeding yourself and your mind, your psychology, your brain chemistry, your cellular DNA, like everything that you are ingesting on a daily basis, not just food wise or drink wise, but like media wise, news, music, like all of that stuff has a frequency. And like I wholeheartedly believe that the people in charge know this. And there is a lot of, I mean, if you look at the media, and I think a lot of people did this to kind of show during COVID how all the media coverage was exactly the same. It was like all scripted. They were all saying the same thing from like all, and it was like 30 different channels, right? And it was just like, hold on, whoa, whoa, and so there's this energy, and that's kind of where I like just tapped in super hard and just started doing a ton of collective work of being a bridge between the divine and the human collective, the earthly plane, right? And so my job as a multi-channel conduit is to help people broaden their perspective and see the bird's eye view as opposed to just seeing what is being told to you, what is being fed to you. And I think that, I actually like kind of went back and forth with somebody yesterday on Threads because she reposted a post that I did around it was just a channel for the Divine Feminine Collective because we came to the end of the Mayan calendar on October 14th. It was like the next 72 hours, the next 3 days are really important for the divine feminine because in the divine counterpart collective, those of us that are meant to come together in divine love, that we are anchoring in the new earth codes and frequencies for unconditional love, for harmony, for recalibration of balance on the planet, right? And so the 144,000, that's a frequency, not a number of people, right? And this, when we come back to the frequency of truth, or if anybody's ever read that book, Power versus Force by, do I have it here? David Hawkins. That book is paradigm shifting too, but it really shows you, you can even see, you can look up his kind of like map of frequency when it comes to emotions, and how that map of consciousness or frequency starts at a very low vibration and then moves up the scale. And so the highest form of frequency on the planet is authenticity. And so I put out this post yesterday that said, divine feminines, over the next 72 hours, like, please speak your truth, own your truth, clear your throat chakra, and say whatever it is that you need to say that is your truth to, like, this is really important for your journey because going back to what I was saying about the Mayan calendar ending, it's not like apocalypse that's happening, even though like outside it seems like that. But ultimately what's happening is we're anchoring in the galactic like new earth, right? We're anchoring in this 5D frequency of love, of harmony, of authenticity. And with the divine feminines leading the divine masculine, and it really is this energy of like, if you're anchoring that in, not only the divine masculines that you're connected to, are you helping them anchor it in, but you're really creating this new frequency for yourself and your life, that you are steeping yourself in truth moving forward from here, right? And so this woman like reposts this and it's like, use your discernment. And I'm like, why would you need to use your discernment to speak your authenticity? Like, just a question, right? And then we went back and forth, and she was like, well, if you're so triggered by it, you might want to check yourself. And I was like, I'm not triggered by it. I'm just literally
Asking.
stating facts and asking questions because I never said you had to do anything. And I said, but maybe you want it, because her whole point was, I don't know. I just get like, I'm a Gen Xer and I just rebel against anything that says that I must do something. And I'm like, I never said you had to do anything. I just said, this is really important for your journey. And I'm not, and I could feel her heart like racing, right? Because I'm talking to her via, and I'm like, I'm not triggered at all, but you are. So you might want to check that angsty little teenager inside yourself that wants to rebel against anything that sounds like it's a must. And it was funny because like I just let it go, but like she kept thinking about it for like an hour afterwards. And because I had been communicating with her, I was like channeling what she was saying. And she was just like, oh my God, like this girl is like blowing my mind because here I am still thinking about it. And she's right. Like she didn't say that. Like I jumped to a conclusion and like, wow, I was trying to hold up a mirror to her and she turned the mirror right back on me. And it was just like this funny thing, right? So like I had a chuckle with it and I was like, whatever, and I could let it go. But being a multi-channel conduit, being so tapped into my energy, like if somebody's like focused on me, like I can pick up on that shit, right? And so if you're wanting to become more multidimensional, if you're wanting to tap into these abilities, if you're wanting to understand and learn how to strengthen your intuition, like first and foremost, you have to unplug from what's happening out there. You have to unplug from what you're being fed and allow yourself that down regulation time to be in your own energy, to explore your intuitive hits, to follow them, to allow yourself the kind of unpacking of like, okay, what do I believe is true? And then, I think as you were talking about like getting stronger in your intuitive abilities and like understanding who you are, so many people don't even know who they are and they're looking outside themselves for answers. And so of course leaders and way showers, we are going to say use your discernment and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But at the same time, it's like do your due diligence to unlearn the things that you have been taught and again dismantle your belief systems and be like, is that actually something that I believe, like around money? Is that something I actually believe around business? Is that something I actually believe around love and relationships? And like look at where you were taught something and where you were fed something that you kind of took on as your own. And this is where that healing, the shadow work, the mother father wound, like all these traumas and stuff, and a trauma is just a strong emotional reaction,
Yeah.
but it's like all the things that we have to unpack. Your spiritual awakening is just like the beginning of it, right? It's like, oh shit, this is not what I thought it was. I'm seeing things in a whole different light. Okay, let's start to unpack this, right? And then your dark night of the soul is this like scary, heavy, very lonely time because you're being stripped of everyone and everything and you feel outcasted and you're just like, "Oh my god, like I feel like I'm in a well that I can't fucking get out of." And I don't know why they call it a dark night of the soul because this has gone on for years, It's like it's like a big heavy thing. And then what's beautiful is that we're in a quickening, and what took me 25 years to get to where I am now, people are like like churning and burning through the stuff so fast. And yes, we've had tons of spiritual awakenings and tons of dark night of the souls, and it's like you get brought down to rock bottom and you burn out and then you come back again even stronger. And it's like now we're at a point where we welcome that. We're like, oh, it's time to burn it all down again. Okay, let's fucking go. Let's burn it down. We're gonna build it back up. And then we're just like, we're ready now, Back then it just like took you out. And so what took me maybe 5 to 10 years to like really unpack and get and heal, it's like people are healing that in 5 to 10 months, 5 to 10 weeks. And it's happening so much faster. And as a coach and mentor, it's like so incredible to watch how quickly these things can happen and the transformations people can have and then like the highs they can get to. But I think using your discernment is not only the most important thing, but like to really understand yourself, like you can't skip any steps. There's no spiritual bypassing. Like you have to do the dark work, you have to do the shadow work, you have to do the healing, and you have to, kind of reinstate not only what it is that you truly believe and understand, but like you have to give yourself the time to do that. It's not going to happen overnight and it's not going to happen just from listening to one podcast, and like you said, it's you'll ingest, like maybe you're loving what I'm saying and you come and you listen to my stuff and then like in 5 months you're like, okay, I'm not feeling this anymore, and you find somebody else that you're vibing with, and that's fine. And then maybe you come back to me a year later, like who knows, it's just like we're not driven by that. Like yes,
Yeah.
we want clients, yes, we want to build our business, but at the same time we know that it's like where we're at in our journey, we're just a few steps ahead of most people. It's
Yeah.
like we're not strides ahead of you. We're not miles ahead of you. Maybe for some people, yes, that are like, oh my God, I just love what you're saying and I'm just beginning, but I want to be where you are. Right. Like there's going to be a handful of those people. But for the most part, it's just like we're just a few steps ahead of you, you know? And so um I don't know. It's a beautiful kind of like weaving in and out, but not only using your discernment, but really learning to trust yourself and
Yeah.
what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you're receiving, what it is that you're getting, what it is that you're growing into, and trusting when something feels out of alignment and finding what does feel in alignment again.
Yeah, yeah. I taught a very low cost masterclass a number of months ago called Trust, because I
Mhm.
wanted people to be able to, because I knew that that was one of the biggest things for me is I didn't necessarily trust myself. And then when I started to, there was part of me that thought, this is crazy. And so, I would think, well, why am I acting this way? Why am I thinking this? No, that person, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. And so within that, so much conditioning around, okay, well, they must know more than me, so and instead of knowing that no, like I'm truly, truly tapped in. So I laughed when you're talking about spiritual awakening and the dark nights of the soul and then coming back, because I mean, once you've been there and you've come out from it, you can kind of look at it with a completely different perspective. And you do, it's not a one and done. Like there will be other times, and but it's almost like when it happens again, we're like, okay, here we are, ready, and you instead of that first, I mean, that first one was, it was harsh. It was harsh. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Um, when you were talking about how like turning off the news and all of the things, I did that during COVID early on, and it was the best thing that I could have done. And
Mhm.
one of the best things about being a Canadian and being in Canada, well, a lot of people don't think, I mean, probably big picture, I mean, is it necessarily a good thing? But we actually can't have access to any news on any form of social media. So I don't go onto Facebook and get fed news. I don't go on Instagram and get fed news anymore. I actually have to go either turn on my TV. I can't even search it out on any of these platforms because Meta, Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg was like, okay, Canadian government, then that's just, you get what you get. And so I can't even go look for a news channel or source is feed and actually be able to see it. You could, people from anywhere outside of Canada, they can, but me in Canada, I cannot. So, which is a very interesting place to be, but I actually think it's a really good place to be because like you said, I mean, there's so much. I mean, look, honestly, we could sit and talk forever because even once you started talking, the whole divine feminine, divine masculine, the 144, because there's so much even around that. So I put a post on Threads. I had to pull it up. So it was yesterday. So it says one day ago, and I said I've got some very spicy downloads to share. I have ever since. Um, Probably I'm trying to think of how many weeks ago now. Just my throat chakra like activated and the downloads to the point that in the middle of the night I'm going, okay, can I please stop? Like I would just keep voice noting everything that was coming through. Because I couldn't sleep and thinking that then maybe I could sleep, but sometimes it went on all night. And so, but I said I've got some very spicy downloads to share. I know it's going to trigger the shit out of some people who aren't
Yeah.
ready to face the truth, because one of the things, and we're not going to get into the discussion because again there's so many, but what is so much around a lot of the spirituality, a lot of the divine feminine, divine masculine, the 140, there's so much out there that is really keeping people in low vibe, stuck looping, and everything, instead of truly like stepping beyond. And so, yeah, so much of my downloads are all centered around that. And I'm like, I'm gonna share in bits, and I have been sharing like little bits that I know some people aren't ready to hear or to face the truth. And that's okay because maybe they will at some point, right? We all integrate the information and what's coming at us when we're ready for it.
Yeah.
So, I know that it's not, some people just they're not ready yet. And yeah, that was one of the biggest things with my dark night is all of a sudden I was here and everybody else in my life was here. And it wasn't that I was better than them. It was just that I had just become in a completely different energetic space than everybody else in my life. And if I tried to even, it was like I was speaking a completely different language and just very strange space to get into. Now, thankfully, I am so grounded in who I am and what I'm here for and what I believe and just all of it that it really doesn't matter that, and it's hard, especially when it's your family, right? When it's people close to you, like your close family and friends, and you just are in a different spot. I remember I did a quantum leap at one point and it was like my own healer. And it was like 6 months. 6 months went by with just me, nobody else. And I was like, what the heck just happened? And I realized, and it was so weird when all of a sudden they started to trickle back in because it was like they were just, but I just did this massive jump. And so, yeah, just it's the most incredible experience when you are truly open, when you live in alignment and you are truly open to the journey. Like I
Well, I
really
think
do.
that's mostly it. You're open to the journey because you're not always in alignment, right? Like it's you come in and out of it constantly. Like even as a soul alignment specialist, like there are days when I'm like, nope, like I just need to rest. And I know that I'm in alignment for myself, but like, there will be days where I'm just like, fuck it. I want to eat potato chips and sit on the couch and do nothing, like that's probably out of alignment, but like that's what I feel like I need right now. So that's what I'm gonna do, like I just listen to what it is that I want. But like really on early on in the journey, that's something that I really learned was you just have to plant the seeds. That's it. Like nobody is ever going to be fully ready for the fire hose of information that you have for them, right? Like that's how you can see it is like, oh, let me turn on the fire hose, but wait, let me just trickle it because otherwise you're going to be like blasted back and it's just too much. You can just see people's eyes glaze over when you start talking to them. You're like, okay, you're not getting this. But we also call that, like beating somebody with the golden brick because you think you have the answer at a certain point and you're like, oh my God, let me share this with you. And everybody's like, whoa, no, like I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, and then you get humbled by spirit, by source, the universe. They're like, no, 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 it's not how we do it, like you got to just plant the seeds and like nurture them and let them grow within people. And I learned that through yoga. It was like my classes were very steeped in spirituality, and I knew that I was like, oh, I can't just unleash this on people. Like I got to just like each class I'll plant a seed. And then they would grow. And then people would come back and be like, when you talked about that thing that one time in that class, like that's really been sitting with me. And like more and more it's like growing and I'm like, oh, okay, I can see the world from that perspective now, and it's like, cool, my job is done. It's like when we plant those seeds or when we're really trusting ourselves, like yesterday I did 3 readings on TikTok, and it was like 2 love readings sandwiched around a very important collective message. And the collective message was like, question everything because, like, what you're being fed right now, what's happening out there, there's a lot of like chaos being created to elicit more fear, to create more division, to make people scramble and try to pick a side. But in reality, it's like you need to shut that down, turn inward, and start to question everything that you're seeing, everything that you're hearing, and really sit with that in your body. Your body is like the most divine instrument you will ever have. And it's not only your heart is your compass, but your body is a barometer. And for anybody that wants to know more, please go check out that Power versus Force, because you can do muscle testing. You can really check in with your body, and it doesn't matter how you're built. If something is weak or a lie, your body will always test weak to it. You will always be told this is a no. Like if something's not good for you or not right for you, it's like the doctor Emoto, I think is his name, that did the water testing and would speak to the water or put a word on the water, that was like joy or
Mhm.
love or happiness, and then freeze it. And the exact same water from the exact same source, he would write the words like hate or deception, and then they would be all dark and, going back to the frequency. And
Yeah.
so when we think about cancer, you know, how much have you been fed in your lifetime that is a lie, that is not truth? What are you holding on to in your heart, in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, where you're not forgiving someone in your life? Like, are you holding on to some sort of resentment or some sort of hurt from someone, some sort of trauma? Like, when we talk about doing your healing, like, we're not just saying this to like get likes or, to to sound like we know what we're talking about. It's like, shit, if you're not willing to do your healing, if you wonder why disease is so rampant right now and why cancer is such a huge thing, it's like, I mean, look back at what you're carrying, what you're holding on to, what your beliefs have been. If all of that is in alignment with a low vibrational frequency, that something is not in alignment for you, you need to heal that. You need to unpack it. You need to have the awareness around it. And this could even be something from a past life, right? So it pays to work with coaches like us, Akashic record readings, where we can tap in and say, oh, actually, you've had a couple lives where you really wronged someone and you've been carrying that this whole time, and you came into this lifetime to actually, you've been wronged so many times in this lifetime, so your soul would understand what that felt like. And so now that you have that awareness, it's like your soul's like a multifaceted crystal that has these like breaks in it, if you will, like a fracture, when your soul's still carrying or holding on to something. And when you have that awareness, it's like that fracture comes back together and seals and heals, and then you can move on. And so, like the things we talk about, we're not just talking about it to hear ourselves talk about it. Like, if you're not doing your healing, if you're not doing your shadow work, if you're not looking and working with your inner child and trying to figure out how to reparent yourself and how to understand like how to make yourself feel safe, how to downregulate your nervous system, like there's so many facets here, but it's like it all interconnects, and it all equates to your physical reality and what you're creating for yourself. Subconscious beliefs, rewiring your programming around your subconscious beliefs. All of this stuff has to happen in order to live the type of life you want to live, and in order to be in alignment. You can't just say, okay, I'm in alignment now, right? Like, it's like, yeah, I'm choosing what I want, but if your life is still falling apart, there's still work to do. You need to look at those areas of your life that are like the wheel's still falling off every time you try to go around the track, in that area of your life. It's like, okay, well, what's actually happening there? Like, I can
Yeah.
be almost in alignment, but if my money's still not right, there's still something I need to look at there, like there's still a subconscious belief that's running the show. There's still some sort of like area of my life where I'm scared to be seen, or I'm scared to show up for myself, like where I'm still holding fear, maybe even around money, like this is just an example, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like our awareness is so powerful. Our bodies are so powerful. They're such a divine instrument. And the more that we're ringing the mirror on ourselves and coming within and allowing ourselves to take radical responsibility, to take radical accountability for what is being created in our reality, even the shit that's going on now. Sorry, excuse my language. I'm a big
That's
cursor.
that's okay. Me too.
Okay, but even the like shitstorm that's happening outside, right, in our political spectrum, on the world stage, it's all like a chess game. It's all plots, it's all power being kind of leveraged, and oh, like let's say this, like, let's stop the war happening over there, and we're going to be called, the savior. And it's like, okay, no, that's not actually true, but you and I can see that. Maybe not everybody watching the news can see that, right? But I think more and more people are waking up to the fact, and like awakening to their bodies, awakening to their intuition is awakening, like these higher levels of consciousness, these waves of higher levels of consciousness are spreading on the planet. And so through this, it's like more and more people are becoming more deciphering. More and more people are starting to question everything. More and more people are starting to really listen to their bodies, listen to their intuition, and be like, yeah, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, something feels off there. I'm calling bullshit. And I think that it's not only important for us to continue to keep doing that, but to almost kind of like ramp it up a little bit more.
Yeah. That is the biggest key. And that is the thing that I would say has changed how I go through life day after day, is really truly being tuned in to myself.
Mhm.
You know, to know, is this true for me? Is this right for me? Is this good for me? And yeah, sometimes I'm going to want to sit on the couch and eat chips too. I
Yeah.
also like poutine, and every once in a while I want to eat poutine. Like fries, gravy, cheese. I mean, Canadian thing, I don't know, but it's and I give into that. And yeah, maybe it's not the best thing for me, but I also, if it's a serious craving of mine, I'm going to do that because the biggest thing is our soul chose to come here and experience being human.
And
Um,
everything in the spectrum, right? The good,
exactly.
the bad, the ugly, like the saltiness and the sweet, like all of it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So that is, I hope, I mean, there were so many nuggets in this conversation, and honestly, Priscilla, we could continue to probably talk.
We're gonna have to do a part two.
I think we definitely will because there's so many like topics that came off of this conversation. I would totally love to have you on. But I hope maybe the biggest thing that we can kind of leave people with is to really be tuned in, to really be discerning, to find your truth, like everybody who's listening, to find your truth and also to know that your truth is going to change. Like I could look back at things that I said 5 years ago and be like, ooh, yeah, because I know I'm in a different place now, right? I can see things from a different perspective and everything like that. So being open to know that your truth and your alignment and everything is going to shift and morph and change as you shift and morph and change. So but honestly, seriously, we could continue to chat forever. I have absolutely loved having this conversation with you. Um, so share quickly. Obviously, I'm going to put it in the description to make it really easy for people. But for those who are just listening right now and they want to like tune into you right at this moment, not wait till they get home or whatever it might be to get to the description of this. How could people reach you right in this moment right now if they're interested to learn more? Because you are like the most beautiful wealth of knowledge
Oh, thank you.
that I think people need right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, Substack. I have a website and a newsletter. So I'm kind of across the board. You can find me. I'll give you all my handles so you have that. And I am running a course in November called the Intro Divination course. So if you're interested in learning more about working with your guides and angels, working with your spirit team through divination tools, we'll be going over 5 divination tools in that course, and we start on 11/11. And so that's always an exciting, fun. It's good for beginners if you are just a beginner and starting out on your spiritual journey, or if you are just wanting to learn more about kind of the occult arts through. We're doing working with a pendulum, working with source journaling or automatic writing, doing energy clearings and cleanses, not only on yourself with smudging agents, and also intuitive tarot reading, like learning how to work with tarot cards. And then there's one more in there. that I'll save. But ultimately, it's just, there's a lot there that you can start to work with. And then I have another course that I'll be running probably in the new year called the multidimensional being, where you can really tap in and learn more about the five clair abilities and telepathy, and how to become more, like you were saying, tuned in to yourself, to your channel, to your intuition, and really honing that. So that's a really amazing course if you're really wanting to be the sharpest, kind of most unfuckwithable version of yourself.
I love it. I use that quite often. I remember when I became unfuckwithable. It was the best place to get. So,
Yeah. And
um,
it's an embodied thing that you have to like build up and work to, it doesn't happen just right after the course, but over time with you using those things, it does become more and more something that you're just like, no, I'm deciphering AF, and I know what is truth and what is not.
yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
great.
I love all that. So all the details, they'll be in the description. Um, Thank you for joining me today. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. If today's conversation lit something up in you, I would love for you to share it. So tag me on Instagram or Threads or whatever. I'm at the Lindsay Grace, as you know, because I would love to know your biggest takeaway and connect with Priscilla because she is just incredible. So until next time, stay grounded, stay aligned, and keep letting your soul lead.